So, we are doing something a little bit different today. I decided well, the weekend, as much planning as I needed, but I decided that this week, to celebrate International Women's Day today, I was going to not interview for my podcast exclusively. I was going to come in live so you guys can ask questions. Caroline says hi. So you guys can ask questions and we can answer them live, and then this I can repurpose to YouTube and it'll be on the podcast as well. So I'm sure you all recognize this beautiful lady that I have up on the screen next to me. But if not, would you like to go and introduce yourself?
Yes, hello there. I'm Claire Louise Owen. My business is the SoberAholic, or I am the SoberAholic. After many years of binge drinking, I changed my life, stopped drinking, and now I help other women to do the same.
How do you help other women do the same?
Wow, right, okay. Well, I have various different ways that other women can work with me. But I have a free group on Facebook, and I also have a program. So I have women working through the program, women who've successfully got through the program and who are now enjoying like 100 days sober. I had one lady celebrating at the weekend. And I also offer a sober pen pal solution, I like to call it. So yeah, I can basically be your sober coach in your pocket to help you through this.
You'd probably fit in my pocket as well. So how did the business come about?
Right. Well, I was inspired after watching my really good friend's health decline. We used to drink together and, go clubbing together, have great fun together. And we lost touch for a few years. And she came back in my life looking for a property. And that was my business at the time. I was running a letting agency. I had my own properties that I rented out and working hard for other landlords as well. So the go between the landlord and the tenant, and that came with it lots of stress and hassle. And I just convinced myself that I deserved it. So at the end of a busy day, or at the end of a day where I'd, had a few wins, that was always wine. And it just kind of started to feature in every part of my life. And little niggles, mainly my relationship was one of the first things that I needed to look at. And we spent time apart because of it. And like most couples, just complaining about him and not really looking at my own drinking and how I was probably encouraging it as well. So like most women, I tried cutting down, and I found that just made things 10 times worse because I was constantly making rules for myself and then breaking them. So I would, promise not to drink through the week. And when I say promise, I was only promising myself. It wasn't about, anyone else. It was just, this was something that I knew I wanted to change. And I found it harder to cut down. And just kind of joking about it, like most of us do, saying, I'm not going to drink tonight. And then there I was with a glass of wine to get through the bedtime routine. And my kids was small, but like most mums, just juggling family life, it just started to be something that turned into something that I felt I needed. And then this friend came back and her relationship had broken down. She was kind of a step further down the line than me. And it really frightened me. I thought if it could happen to her, it could happen to me.
So at that point, it wasn't with the view to becoming a business. It was just your
Oh,
personal journey.
yeah, absolutely. And I think obviously sitting at first when I used to go around, because we rekindled our friendship, and I would go around and I would drink with her, just trying to understand this. And I couldn't understand why she would want to stay in the house and stay at home and just drinking. It wasn't really about the drinking. I could see that. And it was just something that I felt I couldn't not look at it anymore. I couldn't figure out the line between my fun and a drink problem. And so I started to look at it and I thought, it was easier because I had her there, that I could kind of disguise it as basically wrapping it up and thinking that what could I do to help her? But really, if I'm honest, my subconscious was in overdrive thinking, oh my God, this could be the next step for me. And I think just different not just from the universe, really, just I kept coming across other people who, relationships were breaking down around me and things were happening. And I was just thinking, I kept thinking if that situation didn't have alcohol in it, how would it look different? And then just reading all the books, Quit Lit. I started on 1 Year No Beer. I didn't do the program. I bought the book and I joined the Facebook page. And a lot of that I felt was geared to men and geared to fitness, geared to like that physical challenge. And although I did do that, I did a 26-mile hike as part of Macmillan. I still felt that was more about my confidence and having the courage just to be me that I needed, more than a physical challenge. It wasn't really about weight loss for me. That wasn't what it was. It was about having the courage to find out who I was and find out what I wanted, and then making the steps towards getting that, regardless of what anyone else thought. And it was really hard.
And it didn't happen the first time, did it?
I think, to be honest, the intention was always at the beginning, it was always to try life without it. And I never thought that, it didn't even enter my head to give up forever, to be honest. I knew that there was other people who had done that. And I felt like, no, I don't want to do that. I just want this to be under control, And it was really hard to even imagine my life without it. So the idea of giving up forever was never on the cards. So I tried it at first I went for 28 days and that was all right. The first 3 weeks was the hardest. So I think when I got to 28 days, I was starting to feel better. So I extended that to 90 days. And I was going on holiday on day 92. And that had always been like, I remember when I totted it up in my head and thought, I'll be over my 90 days for my holidays. And I felt so good. I was like thinking, well, I'm not even sure if I want to drink on holiday because I don't want to give up how good I feel. And so I got through my first sober holiday. We went with friends as well, actually family, my cousin, and her family, and I really enjoyed it. I was getting up early, going for walks to the beach before anybody even got up. And it didn't really bother me. But I got to 125 days and it was the World Cup. Don't even care about football. And it was just popped in my head. I might have a few beers today. And it was strange because I don't know what I expected would happen, but I can remember feeling like it was just a massive letdown. I had a few beers and nothing happened. It was like, well, what was all the fuss about? And I think, but then I'd broken my spell, I'd broken my numbers. So it just made it easier the next time. And then there was a party. So it never went back to relying on it as much as I had initially. But I could tell from my journals that my level of normal, if you like, just went downhill pretty much straight away. I didn't wake up in a good mood anymore. And I never really gave myself much time between drinks. So it would be, I would drink on a Saturday, then initially this would have been what I thought I wanted, but it wasn't long enough between drinks. I would drink on a Saturday, then maybe have another drink on the Thursday, and I never got to that lush feeling of being sober. I felt like I was constantly back into that withdrawal. So straight away I could see the difference. I could feel the difference between this isn't sober, this is me withdrawn from alcohol. And then the more people I told about it, it was like, I wish I could do that. And I started just putting it in my head like an accountability, almost like Slimming World. We know what to do. We know what to avoid. We know the things. We know that it's a depressant. We know it makes everything feel worse the next day. But it's just being around other people who let you really feel that, because a lot of the time we're forcing on each other. It's like, oh, don't be hard on yourself. Just have one. Oh God, we need it. Don't, like, even when I went to my doctor's, I went for my smear test and I mentioned it in passing to the nurse, and she was, do you smoke? No. Oh, well, don't be hard on yourself. As if it was too hard of a thing to give up. And then I had this friend, and obviously all the adverts that you see everywhere, and it just felt like it was just everywhere all of a sudden. And I couldn't understand how, if what would be the difference if I had turned up to my doctors and they said, right, Claire, you can't drink again, how would life be for me if that was something, this was really, my health was at risk here. and just, the memes and the birthday cards just didn't feel funny anymore. you know so I don't know, I think the more women I spoke to, the more women were kind of feeling the same, but they didn't want to speak to their friends about it, because your friends want you to keep they want to keep you safe. It's not that they want to be mean to you, they just don't like the idea of people changing to the like everything to stay as it was. So the idea behind the business is that there's connection with other people who are wanting the same thing as you. You don't have to wait for your friends to jump on board for it to be okay. You can reach out to other women who are doing exactly the same thing, especially online. Makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a friend that was trying to give up, I don't know, sugar for their health, you wouldn't be like, oh, come on, let's just go get a McFlurry. Like, it just treat yourself. You wouldn't do it because it's for your health. Yet alcohol's like the second killer in the world, isn't it? Next to heroin, like the second addictive substance.
Well, it's a causable, isn't it? They use it as, I
Hmm.
can't remember the exact term, but on cancers and things like that, it's a causable. I don't know the right words, Michelle, actually, for that. But they say that it can be the cause of all of these cancers and killer diseases and all of that.
Carcinogenic. Is that it?
But I don't
Carcinogenic?
go, you see, I don't really go into the medical
Mm.
science of it all. I think people are turned off straight away as soon as you start thinking about that. And we all know it's like, we know it's a poison and we know how bad it makes us feel, right? But we've just been led to believe that we need it, led to believe that we need it because our lives are so hectic. And I thought that I didn't know anyone who didn't drink. But once you move away from that idea, there's lots of people who don't drink. They just, they're the quiet ones.
Yeah. They're not sat there on a Friday night posting a picture with a cup going, I really deserve this cup of tea this weekend.
Exactly. And it's little things like that. And I suppose, people have asked me before, do I have to give up completely to class myself as a soberaholic? And I'm like, no, my business is not necessarily anti-alcohol. It's to support women, because women feel, we feel as if we're supposed to have it all. And we're, you know, these memes tell us that we're not enough, that we need it, to rely on it. And I suppose I'm going against that and saying, you don't need that. You don't need it. If you want it, if you think that it still enhances a party or your night out with your husband, that's fine. But you don't need it. You don't need to rely on it in every social situation, for me, like everything, when I was happy, when I was sad, to celebrate.
Celebrate, commiserate. It was,
Absolutely. And it was like, I would feel I had done well if I had one night a week without it. And because I used to just laugh at the idea of 14 units, it just seems so crazy that why would anyone just have one drink? Like
yeah.
I didn't drink like that. I was drinking from when I was young, with the whole idea was to drink to get pissed. That was the game. And maybe I hung on to that identity for too long. And some people just slow down quietly and they just go, I don't do that anymore. And me, I suppose I've taken on this mission to rebrand Sober Life, to say that it's actually empowering and revitalizing and energizing. And I've used the energy that I've got for to start this business. And you don't know what you might want or what other people might want. If they were to decide they want to change something in their life, this is the first domino, because straight away you've got the clarity, the energy, the enthusiasm, the passion to do the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been asleep whilst I was drinking for a lot of time, and it numbs people, and it does rub off on other people in your life. Because when I first started on this path, if I'm honest, I didn't think for 1 minute it would rub off on my husband. I didn't quite know how it was going to work, because I thought, well, he's going to keep drinking and I'm going to have to be the grown up. Even when I say that now, I feel pissed off about it. But that's the truth. One of us had to be the grown up. And a lot of people don't understand that. But what happens is, slowly, it drip feeds onto the people around you. The ripple effect is so, gives me goosebumps goosebumps to think that like people then start to think it's possible for them. And the amount of people have said to me, God, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, really? You know, and the longer you go, the easier it gets, where the longer you go, the bigger the numbers are and people clap harder. But actually, it's those first few weeks
Yeah.
to break that habit, isn't it? And then it's about looking at your mindset and what you believe. The only difference is I don't believe all the things that I used to believe about alcohol. I don't believe those things anymore. I don't believe that it makes me sexier, more glamorous, more fun, more better dancer, better singer. Not true.
I know it's not until you've had your first sober. Obviously, I went sober in lockdown, so I've not seen other people. So it's the kids, like your first Friday night, like get the it's not called a Wii anymore, is it? Was a switch on and
Oh
like
yeah.
the old Just Dance, and I'm like, I'm sure I was better at this when I was drinking. Like alcohol made me such a better dancer, and the kids are like, no, mum, no, you've always been that bad.
I mean, I've done sober weddings. I can remember dancing at midnight with the bride, and you know, the memories now. It's like switched on its head. I went to Italy for the weekend with my husband, no kids, and to this beautiful wedding, and we stayed in lovely. And you would straight away think Italy, wine, and to be honest, on the way there, I kind of let go of any expectations because I didn't know if I would get through it, especially that was my first time without the kids. Because you can turn up as being like a better mom and think, oh, look at me, look at these mom points I'm getting. And that just feeds you, right? That feeds you, fills you up. In the first few months, you can just like squeeze that, right? Squeeze that one. When you're on holiday without them and everyone else is there and it's all glamour and that, but honestly, it didn't bother me. I can remember the morning of the wedding thinking when everybody was at the bar waiting to get picked up to go, you know, because it was a hell of a trek. It was a bit of a risk because she got married in Italy in a castle and it was like miles to walk and up cobbled streets, but there was no drink then. And I remember those parts of weddings where you're sitting and you're not dying for the toilet and you're dying for another drink and you're just waiting around. And I hated all of that. I just had a bottle of water and I remember feeling like, this is the answer. This is the clue.
Hmm.
All along, it wasn't that I needed more drink. I needed no drink.
Yeah.
And then just, you know, feeling as nice at the end of the night as you did at the beginning of the day and remembering everything and just, you know, just you just turn up as a different person and you see it happen, like all the confusion you know, and all of that's just left behind. And the next day you don't wake up and regret it and wish that you drank, you know, you still have all the memories and you feel brilliant.
And you
Um,
don't have that like regret. So I think now I'm loud. I can act an idiot, especially when I'm around the kids. But because I know, because I've taken drink out of the equation, when I get up in the morning and I'm thinking, oh God, I was a right tit last night, it's because I am a tit. It's not because I'm not regretting the fact that I've had a drink because I acted like that. It's like, well, actually, yeah, I just am a bit of an idiot, actually. But you haven't got that like beer fear.
and you know who you are because yes, and often I've been in situations where you're laughing along with other people and yeah, fair enough, they're drinking and it's fun. I enjoy going out and I do enjoy to this degree when people start, you know, and the confusion comes and I do have that knowing smile to myself. I can't help it. But then I can leave, right? And it's that makes us feel like a boss. Like, it really does, like a winner,
Hmm.
rather than being there at the bitter end. And you know, like you say, looking back over it and going, oh, why did I say that? What did I take? You know, what did I talk about that for? Whereas if you just own it and that's who you are, I've sat in situations before laughing and reaching for my sparkling water and thinking, is the alcohol in this? Because you're having such a good time because you will put so much emphasis on the alcohol, but you have a good time anyway if you're with the right people and you feel comfortable.
Hmm.
I totally do agree with that. Like I went to you know, a weekend festival and I've been to many nights out. But yes, yeah, your ideas just start to change and you become more open to other ways to have fun. So you're not sitting like you imagine you will be with an empty glass whilst everyone's having a great party around you. It's not like that.
Yeah.
You're in control. You can take it or leave it, as in you can be there if you want to be there, or you can leave. It's just a lot of the time it's how you put it across, because people pick up on it. If you go, oh no, I'm just not drinking, I'm trying to try without it, then they want you to feel better. They'll say, well, stop being hard on yourself. But if you say, oh no, I'm not drinking and I've been feeling really good actually, and I'm just going to see how far I go. You don't have to, if you thought eggs were bringing trouble to your life and you thought, I'm going to try life without eggs, you don't have to say how long you're going to give them up for. Are you ever going to eat them again? You just let go. You try life without it and you realize, oh, actually, I can have fun with my husband. Oh, actually, I can still enjoy a movie on a Friday night without half a bottle of wine or a bottle of wine. Whereas we think it's the weekend, I have to have it. Otherwise, wow, nothing different. The only difference is you don't feel as rubbish tomorrow.
Awesome. So Margaret has said it could save a lot of money. Have you calculated how much not drinking has saved you?
Absolutely, yes. And the first, I stopped in February, and I stopped until the summer, and then it took us until November to start again. And I reckoned it up, and this was part of my motivation. I booked to take the boys to Lapland, and I think it was about $3,000 or something, and that had definitely been paid for from the money that we would have saved, because it's not just the drink, it's the taxis, it's the takeaway,
Takeaway.
it's the food that you waste because you bought the food and then you didn't eat it, so you chuck it in the bin. And it's just all of that, and just the expense. We moved next door to a shop, and so even if we bought a couple of bottles of wine, if we hadn't, we would always go to the shop and get more. And by then you don't care, you're not bothered, are you? You just with the card and takeaway. So and that was just a really nice way for me to get into my head that you don't think twice, do you, about pulling money out for wine. Now it's like, how much? Well, that's only 3 bottles of wine, get it.
Yeah.
Because you get in the habit of just you find the money when you want to have a drink.
Oh, yes. So at what point did you think, right, this could actually be a business?
I think it was when I was looking at the idea that I would tell other people that this was how far I had got with it, and they would say, I wish I could do that. And I knew, because my drinking was a lot to do with the business that I was running before, because I was the middle person in between these landlords and tenants, and it was just stress from both ends. And I had kind of fallen into that so that I didn't have to go to my office job when I had my children. So I created a business from my kitchen table so that I could have an income and be home with my kids. And that was what I wanted to do. I didn't ever want to have like a high street branch or anything like that. But it grew and it got to become something that I didn't really want it to be. So if you can imagine anybody having a problem with that boiler, they would ring me. And yes, I didn't have to fix it. I would ring the plumber to go. But all of the logistics between getting tenants to stay in the house and the person to turn up at the right time, and it was just constantly on your phone. It was just stressful. And so I knew I wanted to change my career anyway. And I knew I wanted to work with women, because I was up here with working with men, because all the contractors were men. And I'd always been in a role where I had coached other people until I fell into my property business. I'd done employment coaching. I'd trained to be an online, like a tutor, so to teach others. I'd done a course, More Than a Mum, that I'd developed and created and delivered in my community to young mums. I'd worked alongside the children's centres, so I'd always help people, coaching people back into employment or into other training and learning. So I knew that I wanted to do something using those skills and that experience. And I think because a lot of people were finding this struggle as well, and I would never have gone to AA. And I did go and volunteer at a non-residential rehab centre that my friend had attended. And when I went there, to be honest, it was somewhere that you could self-refer, but it was again somewhere that I wouldn't have particularly enjoyed going to. And I just thought I wanted something on a more positive spin, and I've always loved the idea of self-development. So my vision for this is that ladies will get the buzz for being sober, and then want to develop themselves, and whether that's in their career, their relationship, or their health. So I'm moving on now to do some fitness. I've also always done personal development, so there'll be links into that, so people can upskill and just to empower and give women the courage to be themselves. That's really my dream.
And it's a fabulous dream. So what do you see in the near future?
In the near future?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, this is programs all ready now. I've got my strategy all in place. It's a case of now me going out and promoting this, and making sure that people see it in the right light. I was recently on the news. I've relocated to North Wales, and I managed to get my mug on the news. And I loved how they managed to. I was so pleased with how they portrayed my how I'm looking at this from a positive point of view, rather than it being someone wagging their finger and saying you shouldn't be having fun. I don't want to feel like I'm the fun police, but whether your situation is that your other half drinks more than you perhaps want them to, or if it's you or a family member, this is all something that will help, because it's changing the perception of being sober. It's changing it in a way that people don't feel they're missing out. They don't need to feel like they have to go without now. This is something that's going to, it's a different spin on it. It's more of a positive way to say, what could you be, do, and achieve if you were to put down that wine, with the energy and the positivity that you would have. So I'm working really hard to change the spin on being sober, that it's not sober, miserable, jangling my car keys because I'm on antibiotics. That's what it used to be, wouldn't it? I used to hate that. Like if someone would say to me, I'll come, but I'll bring the car, I would say, I'd rather you didn't come. Don't come.
Yeah.
Because people turn up and they're like, oh, I'm coming, but I'm not drinking. And this that's not what this is at all. It's about other ways of having fun. And now we're going back after lockdown. We don't even know what life's going to look like now. So if this is something that people are sober curious, what better time for people's health as well? And, just to feel like you've got that, your immune system. I know if you're drinking all the time, your immune system's on the floor, isn't it? And none of us want that. And maybe it's the age I'm coming to where that's important to me now, and it wasn't before.
And the hangovers, the 3-day hangovers.
I mean, to be honest, because my tolerance was so high, I don't know that I ever got that drunk, that I got that hungover. I would probably appear not to be drunk, but I wouldn't remember, because my brain, and I know why now, because of reading all the books, and because of the lack of sleep, because that's the first benefit, is the sleep. Once your sleep improves, it's a game changer for everything. So it's not just about giving up the alcohol, it's about everything that women have got to gain, and that you can coach him on the other sofa, because I have. Trust me, I've done that. And he just bought himself a paddleboard. And I mean, that's the outdoor lifestyle I've always really wanted to have. But the idea that he's done it himself makes such a difference. Do you know what I mean? And that's what he wants to do, instead of me going, oh, do you not think, come on, go and do this with the kids, come do that with the kids. And you're dragging them, and, it's coming from them, and that's nice. You just got to show sober in a positive light. For too long, I would complain about, people being hungover, and you've got to just say, oh, Yeah, I knew you said you were only going to have one, and it never happened, did it? Again.
I like bouncing down the yard on a Saturday morning. We're all mucking out, and I'm singing and mucking around with the kids, and they're all like, "Oh God, here
Uh-huh.
she is again, little Miss Positive Pants." I'm like, "Hey, what's the matter? Been on the gin?" They're like, "Oh, don't mention gin."
I know. And then, of course, when they go home, they're going to feel so shattered that they're going to think they need another drink to make themselves feel, like they can enjoy the next night. So it's a vicious circle. It really is. It's such a, it's so frustrating sometimes to watch, because women think that they need more willpower, but I believe they need to spend more time with other people who can show them that it's not necessary. We've got these things hung on our walls in the kitchen, and it's everywhere, isn't it? And I've got one here I use. It's my demonstration. Every empty bottle is filled with love. And it's like these subconscious messages we're telling ourselves. If they're on your kitchen wall, they're the first thing to go.
So you spoke there about in your past job and about the burnout and the stress and stuff. How do you manage your time? Obviously, we're just hallelujah. The kids have just gone back today. How have you managed to make sure that you don't get into that kind of pit of despair?
Yeah, my kids haven't gone back yet. We're in Wales, so we
Oh, of
don't know
course.
for sure, but we think it might be Monday. But I moved the kids into a different school just before the second lockdown, which I have a massive long trek now. So them not being at school actually gives me a little bit more time, even though I do have to help them out because it's such a long way to school. It makes it easier that they're not there. Um, so have I got that right yet? I'm not quite sure if I've got that right yet, Michelle, to be honest. I'm going to be really honest. I've got all the plans. I've got all the ideas as to the 2 hour chunks, and I'm going to do this in for 2 hours, and then I'm going to do that for 2 hours. I've got it all planned out, but sometimes it does go out the window. And a lot of the time, because I'm excited about this, it feels like a big jigsaw puzzle that I'm just pulling together. And it's really exciting. I've met some amazing people like yourself online, and I feel like we're all in it together, aren't we? We're all building up
Yeah.
together and helping each other out and figuring it all out. So it's exciting. It doesn't feel like work, but I can be guilty of being in this little office for a little bit too long, for longer than I want to be. So I'm hoping in the next 2 or 3 weeks to have a little bit better structure, so I can say I'm at work now and I'm not at work now, especially for the nicer weather, because we live right near the beach and I don't want to be sat here when I wish I was on the beach. So I'm hoping to get up early, do my musts, and then be able to enjoy, because that's the whole point of doing this sort of job, isn't it? That we want that laptop lifestyle where we're free to choose our hours. So it's all
Yeah,
in my plan.
massively. I know, that's what I keep saying. Well, I've just changed my morning routine because so I'm doing like a law of attraction thing at the minute, and part of it was to journal for 100 days. And on day one, you write like your ideal life. So you write from the position where you want to be. And writing it down, I was like, oh, I want my morning routine to be like this. I want to get up early and exercise and then come in and have the kids breakfast ready, call them down from school, from bed, get them ready for school, like this, that. And I thought, do you know what? Actually, like, there's nothing stopping me from doing that now. Like, I don't need to wait in a year, 6 months, or
Yeah.
whatever it is to do that. I can do that now. So it's about kind of changing what you can today to live the life that you want to live. And I know it sounds really cliche, and I'm like, I cringe when I say things like that, but it is. If you can kind of trick your brain into, well, I'm living how I want to live, you're one step closer to living that dream, aren't you? And yes, I just can't wait until the day where I go, right, that's it, we're going abroad for 6 weeks, or we're just gonna.
Exactly. And you can just pick and choose. And I think
Mhm.
there's always something else to do, isn't there? There's always something else you can do. And I think it's about being disciplined and saying, right, these are my musts. Have I done them? And then, right, that's it. I need to leave this now till tomorrow, because sometimes the harder you push, I know that's when I've got myself in a knot. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Or better to just kind of, I don't know, but it's all about getting it built up. And I said before the call that I feel like I've been renovating a property. That's what it feels like I've been doing. And I know a lot of the work I've done has been on myself and me believing in this, me believing that people will want it. And I think it's about recognizing that I'm not trying to convince stuck Susie, me ladies. I don't need to convince her, but I can be here for her. I can be here for the lady who's ready now, can't I? And maybe this will be drip fed. I think I've spent too much time thinking that she's my ideal client and that I've been messaging to her where she's been here patiently watching. I don't know if you know this, but anyway, but it's about having an ideal client and thinking, talking to the lady who's ready now.
Yeah.
Because that's important to me, that as long as I show up for her, it'll feed down to anybody else who needs to hear it, really.
Well, that falls in with coaching, doesn't it? Because you can hire the best coach in the world. I mean, like me for a business coach, for example. But no, you can hire the best coach in the world. But if you're not going to put the work in and do it yourself, then you're wasting your money. So as a coach, we're not looking for the people that go, oh, I wish this could change. Because unless they're actually willing to do the work, it's not going to happen. So you're stuck Susie. She's there at the minute just carrying on with a Friday night drink and a Prosecco gifts at her birthday and Christmas and that kind of thing. What is it you say? Wondering why she can't lose weight? Or tricking
Blaming bread. Blaming the bread. I always used to say that. Blaming bread.
I've got to cut down on bread.
My before and after picture, and I mean, mine for me, it was never about weight loss. It really wasn't. I can remember thinking that would be a nice byproduct, but I would have started drinking ages ago. You know what I mean? Because it took so long for it to come up. But I think my lifestyle, it wasn't just about removing the alcohol. People do that. They go, oh, how many calories is in a bottle? If I don't have the wine, then that's that many less calories. For me, if I had the wine, then I'd be into the crisps, then I would want this, and then I'd want the fry up, and then I'd want the fish and chips because I couldn't be bothered because I had the fry up. I didn't go to the shops. Do you know what I mean? So then I'd have that. And it just went on like that. And then the next day, because I hadn't gone to the shops, we had nothing in for Sunday lunch. So go out for Sunday lunch and drink 4 bottles of wine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just the bottle of wine, the 600 calories. It's the lifestyle. But that takes such a long time because you still convince yourself for a long time, if you're like me, okay, I'm not having the wine, so I need to have the pudding.
Yeah.
So you do that yourself for about 6 months. But this is all part of the process, which is, again, going back to this, it's a process. It's not a pass or fail. You're here, and if you've drank a glass of wine this week compared to 2 bottles last week, you're going in the right direction, and you're slowly starting to realize like you don't need it. And for me, the last thing for me to go was glamour, right? I got that I didn't need it to go to a camping, right? I didn't need it for camping because I would say in my head, well, everyone's sitting drinking out of plastic glasses, and I could tell myself, well, that's shit, that's rubbish, and I didn't really like doing that, and I could dismiss it because the kids were there. I could play with them, swing ball, and fill myself up by that. But New Year's Eve, and I was a year sober, and we were going out on New Year's Eve from like 4 o'clock or whatever. We were going with the kids, and we were going to the local pub, and we were going to a restaurant when we were allowed, last year. And I had no plan on what I was wearing. I hadn't even planned if I was washing my hair. Nothing was planned. And I sat and I was thinking, why am I not making any effort at all? And it was simply because I wasn't drinking. I had told myself that the only reason to be glamorous on New Year's Eve is if you were going to be drinking. And so I had thought, well, I'm going with the kids. I'll just pretty much go and be one of the kids. I'll sit there with my jeans and my t-shirt on, my trainers with the kids, because I can't have the posh dress and the high heels because I'm not having Prosecco. And that was a lot of bollocks. And so when the family came to the house, and my nieces are older than my kids, and they had all their makeup, and were putting makeup on each other and eyelashes and painting nails, and I put my dress on, and I was the most glamorous I'd been for ages, and I was only out for 2 hours, but it was brilliant. I felt amazing, and I came home feeling just as good as I did, and I enjoyed the girly getting dressy up bit. But for some reason, I hadn't connected the dots. I thought that I couldn't have that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like taking yourself out of the situation, isn't it? And like, yeah, well, we have getting ready with a glass of fizz and things like that. I drink the No Secco and the Beck's Blue just because it helps me realize that actually it's not the alcohol you're missing, it's the having something different. The having like, so I'm not just drinking Diet Coke or I'm not just drinking cups of teas like the weekend. It kind of almost like signals that the weekend started, kind of thing. But yeah, no secco of a even getting the hot tub fix. Trevor's like, oh yeah, well, I'll get you some no secco, and it's like a special treat, you know, but it doesn't include alcohol. So, and I never, if you told me this September, there's no way I would have thought I would be in this situation. In fact, when we moved into this house, we were like, oh, I can't wait, Prosecco and gin parties in the hot tub and all of that. And now it just doesn't even cross my mind.
Mhm. It's funny, isn't it, how you tell yourself things and then it isn't until you challenge yourself that you realize, well, actually, I don't. That's just what I've told myself. It doesn't. It's not true. I don't have to believe that. I can believe whatever I want. So it's just having that self-awareness. And I think the journaling really helps. If I can give anybody top tip, would be like you're saying about your 100 days journaling, because that was only by reading back through my journals could I see that my level of normal just really went down when I introduced it back in. And on the surface, it never got as bad as it had before. So that was almost that was almost where I kind of became unstuck, if you like, because if I hadn't have done that journaling, I might have just slipped back to drinking as much, and then it might just, and then because you've told everyone I've stopped drinking, then you start again, and you don't tell everybody you've stopped again. You know what I mean? It gets a bit silly, doesn't it? But journaling, because I could go through it and really see. I mean, I don't know if you ever did this when you were drinking, but I used to write myself notes when I was drunk as well. Did you ever do that?
No.
Oh God, I would wake up, I'd be like, what the heck? What's this? I did, especially if I'd had an argument with my husband. Be like, and he said this, and do not apologize because he said that. And so now it's almost like I'm writing myself the notes. And I do actually say, well done, Claire. You're doing
Oh,
really well. I do. And I know that sounds silly. I'm embarrassed saying it out loud, like to the world on your podcast.
and YouTube and everything else. No, but I think that's a really important point because if that was anyone else, that's what you would say.
Mhm.
Yet we rarely tell ourselves things like that, and this has come up actually a few times in different interviews. Like we don't praise ourselves enough for the stuff that we are doing, yet we are the first people to go, do you know what? I can't believe I've done this, or I'm so disappointed in myself for that.
I'm going to read you one of my letters because I know exactly where it is. Yeah. Oh my God, how embarrassing is this? Should I read it first?
Yes, go for it.
7 months. Was that 7 months? Hang on. God, lashes of them actually take your pick. I've got right down what I want from my relationships, everything right. I wasn't drunk, by the way, when I wrote this. 3rd of July 2019. Dear Claire, today you are 7 months and 15 days sober. I'm so proud of you and what you have achieved. Your life is unrecognizable from what it was before. I know you are still growing and learning who you are, but your journey has been amazing, from heavy drinking, feeling down, unorganized, anxious, and now is such a contrast. You are encouraging and inspiring so many people, and you continue to do so. Your group has grown to 27 people.
Oh.
Keep plugging away. You got this. The kids are happier, your marriage is happier, you have lost nothing and gained such a lot. Well effing done. Love, Claire.
Oh. Yeah, she sounds like a right lovely old bird. Not so much of the old though.
And it's just nice to find them in amongst your papers as well, because that wasn't obviously in a journal, that's just in a loose piece of paper. But I think it's so nice to look back at that. I mean, my group's much bigger now, but to see that, that kept me going 7 months, that's a lot, that's a long time. Isn't it, for to change things around. And just when you see things happening in the ripple effect in your life, you just look back and think, why would I want to go back to that? I'm not really missing out on anything. I can still go to the parties, I can still talk to my friends. I just don't have to have poison in my glass. And
Hmm.
yes, a lot of people maybe don't understand it at first, but once you believe in it, they will. And if they don't, that's all right as well.
Hmm. So, what would you tell anyone if they were sat at home listening, watching, whatever, and they've got this brilliant idea for a business, but they don't know how to launch it? What would you say would be the first steps, or what was your most powerful step that you took to turn this business?
Mm. I really think it's about believing in yourself. It's about, similar to what you said, looking at designing your ideal day first. Who do you want to be dealing with? Who do you want to be talking to? Do you want to be doing like, is it a problem that you're here to solve, or are you wanting to sell makeup? Do you know, what is it that you turns you on and makes you passionate? And I think that's it. If you can be driven by what you believe in, then that makes it so much easier on the hard days, because none of it is easy. None of it's easy, really, is it? It's not like we've stumbled across something that's, going to be easy. So you've got to really want to do it.
Yeah.
It's got to light you up, and it's got to be something that you believe in. But at the same time, you've got to give yourself some time off. And I know we spoke about that, and I've had a few bit time off. You've had time away recently from social media, and I think it's sometimes about surrounding yourself in the networks, like your network, and looking at where your gaps are, I think, and asking for help. But it doesn't happen overnight, does it? I mean, I couldn't ask for help when I was 7 months sober. I wrote that letter. I never dreamt I would be reading it out loud to you now. That was really intimate and private to me. But as I've grown, and as I've developed myself, you look back and you think, well, that could help other people. So, and it doesn't really matter, does it? It helped me. So that's all I really could say. I'm not really sure what else to advise, but don't do it on your own. I think I tried to do it on my own for too long. You need to get into the networks like yours, and just you know
Outsource, outsource, outsource.
just start hanging around in the spaces where other people can tell you that they believe in you, because I think sometimes your friends and close family don't get it. They don't understand, and so I've spent a lot of time trying to not persuade anyone, but just describe the whole idea of what it is that I'm trying to do. Whereas you come in these online meetings and other people kind of just get it because they're trying to do the same and
The
read lots,
hustle is real.
and listen to lots of podcasts like your award-winning podcast.
So, do you want to tell everyone where we can find you, where you hang out on social media, and how they can connect?
Yes, well, I definitely don't hang out in Clubhouse, do I? I haven't got an iPhone. But we'll not talk about that. No, I hang out. I'm mainly on Facebook. I've been doing an Instagram group, Instagram training this week. So hopefully a little bit more on Instagram, and my website, basically, thissoberaholic.com.
And what's your group? I will leave all the details in either the
Yeah.
show notes or whatever it is on YouTube.
My group, if you can find my page, is Claire the Soberaholic on Facebook.
Fantastic.
Thank you
It's
very much.
been lovely having you on today, especially as it is International Women's Day. Um, thank you so much for coming on. And I know you're usually at the networking meeting, so hopefully we will see you at the next one.
Yeah, a couple of weeks, is it?
Yes. Next Thursday.
Right. Okay,
Next
we'll see you
Thursday
then.
night.
Thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. Speak to you soon. Bye.